Welcome to Surrogate Church. Thank you for joining me today after returning from such an amazing sacred journey that I had the privilege of taking with my son and my mother and a friend of my son's to the south of France, the resting place of Mary Magdalene. Her actual cave, the place where her skull remains. It's as close as I will ever get to her. That journey has taught me something for sure, which is there is a surrogate church that needs to be born into this world. And I am ready to completely break up with the Catholic Church as it stands today. One of the pieces I'm going to read is actually called The Breakup, and it speaks to part of the difficulty that I have with the church and my connection to God while I'm in the church. We'll take it from there. I went to a Catholic high school, an all-girls college preparatory. The teachers were mostly women, sisters of St. Joseph. The administration, all women. The curriculum, challenging, progressive. Religion taught from the doctrine of empowerment, compassion, and service in the spirit of Christ. The faculty was kind and fair and open-minded. But here's the mystery. Through those years, my connection with Jesus disappeared. I tried keeping it going. I did what they told me. I studied the New Testament. I went on religious retreats. I participated in the Mass. The more I learned, the less worthy I felt, and the more obedient I became. I was active, involved, stood by my morals, had my convictions, took care of anyone who was suffering. I followed the rules. I got really good grades. I did a lot of community service. But Jesus was nowhere to be found. He became popular, more like famous. 400 girls and one Jesus. Everyone competed to be loved by him. And it seemed like everybody knew him better than I did. They had all his words memorized. They wore his cross. They were his steadies. And I felt like a misfit. He seemed really happy with all the attention. So I stepped back, dismissed my younger relationship with him as simply part of my imagination. My truth didn't feel big enough to be heard by his ears. He had more important stories to tend to, and I wasn't going to wait in line to get a glimpse of him. So I drifted into the shadows, found a table in the corner of the cafeteria, and ate with a nice group of girls who didn't need a lot of attention. Then one day he appeared on the bleachers. "Where have you been?" he asked. "Where have I been?" "Right here," I answered. "Well, why haven't you been hanging out?" "What, with you and your 400 groupies? No thanks." "I don't understand," he said. "You are too busy for me, and I cannot stand around waiting and hoping and praying that maybe you will notice me again and want to talk to me again and spend time just with me again. It's too demeaning. It makes me feel unworthy at every turn." "So what you're saying is that you are mad at me for being popular?" "No, I'm mad at you for not choosing me. All you ever have to do is ask, and I'll be there for you. That's me choosing you. I want you to choose me. He fired. Choose yourself. Choose your life. Choose your divinity. In that very act, you will find my choice of you every time, every single time. And then, only then, will you come to know the depth of my love for you. I don't know what that means. I'm supposed to choose myself? What does that mean? That sounds selfish, and it gets you off the hook. Why is it so important that I choose you? What does that mean? If I choose you, then you are special, good, worthy. What? Just forget it. No, I can't forget it. I don't want that power. I never wanted that power. I choose God, and God lives in me, and He lives in you. Choose yourself, and you will find God. I have God. I have always had God. He has been with me from my first breath, and He will be with me until my last. I didn't lose God. I lost you. You want to generalize your love for me and every other good Catholic girl, and I don't like how that feels. So the truth is that unless you, Jesus, can commit to me personally, I'm breaking up with you, and I dare you to do something about it. He was called to the other end of the gym. He said we would talk more later. Many years passed before I saw him again. So what I knew at 16 was confirmed for me on this trip, because I got to go to the church of one of the most unpopular saints that we have. I got to go to her cave where she lived. No one was there. No guards to stop me from touching anything. I was able to walk up onto altars. I was able to touch her statues. I was able to speak to her loudly or softly. And she was accessible because the church doesn't bother with her. Her basilica is left unfinished, plain, and she was accessible. And I realized on this trip that part of what the church does is create such distance between us and Jesus, us and Mary, us and any of the saints that we feel as our guides. They create statues that are untouchable. They make them golden and perfect and no longer human. And they tell us to step back. There is a difference between reverence. You can have reverence while you're up close. There is a difference between reverence and control. Control of the relationship. I never felt more worthy than when I sat in her cave. And I also felt so sad that she is not honored in the way that others are honored. Bit of a catch-22 for me, because if she was one of the popular ones, then I wouldn't be able to get near her, not as near her as I was able to get. So today's show, I have my son with me who orchestrated this whole trip, and we're going to talk about that. And I have my youngest daughter who wasn't on the trip but is going to be part of the talk, and we'll fill you in on how it all happened and what we came to know and learn and love on this amazing trip to south of France. Okay. Okay, so here we are with Sage and Mary, my two youngest children. This is a combination we hardly ever have, right? So much of family with 4 kids is usually, I never get all 4 of you together anymore. And then there are certain couplings or individuals that I get to have time with. But you and Sage, I don't get too often.
Well, not since he went to college, because Emma and Lily, right, went away, and then it was just us for a while.
True.
That's true.
We were the original duo.
You were a dynamic duo. These two from birth, you were such a duo, Mary. Sage loved you from the start. He called you Buddy.
And then Modicina.
So cute. So we got to go on a I have been like all about the spiritual travel, right, this year. So and you and your sisters went to Mexico.
Yes.
Then I went to Oklahoma on my own. And now I got to do the spiritual trip with Sage, but we were accompanied by a couple of our tricksters, primarily. Well, part of Oklahoma, part of my spiritual message in Oklahoma was that I have to embrace the trickster, which is sort of the fool, because I take things too seriously. So our tricksters were Colette, Sage's friend, who was on this show with you. We remember Colette, and Grandma. And the two of them, right, Sage?
God.
They were just crazy together.
Hellish combo ever.
Because Grandma was impatient with Colette, and Colette would aggravate Grandma, but they made us both laugh so much.
Yes.
They were so cute, the two of them. Crazy. And Grandma was a turtle. She walked super, super slow. So Sage and Colette got to run ahead of us all the time.
No, not all the time.
Sometimes you were helping Grandma a lot. That's true. So I am still so tired. I don't know why. Jet lag takes a long time to get over.
I have it worse.
You just came back from Portland.
Yeah.
Just yesterday. So you're totally tired. So I was thinking maybe I will get out of the interviewer chair and let you, Mary.
And put a more tired girl in there.
Since you weren't on the trip, you can interview me and Sage about the Magdalene
Let's do
journey.
it.
Also, the picture up here behind us today is the paintings of Mary Magdalene in France. Always red, long, wild hair in her beautiful flowing gowns. So different, right? Doesn't she seem so regular?
I thought it was Jesus at first glance, but she's gorge.
She is. I think
What a
she
stunning lady.
kind
She
of looks
looks like
you.
you.
I was going to say you.
No, when you were younger, I saw another on her. I stuttered. I saw a picture of her on a candle in Portland, and
Yeah, she
it
also
looked
had
like
red
you
hair.
when you were young, like the same nose.
Oh. And we did get to see her skull, and she did have some nice cheekbones.
Oh.
But I think everybody's skull looks like they
Yes.
have good cheekbones, right?
Well, how
because
many years
all
old is that?
This is gone.
Like 5,000 years old or more.
60 million? Wait, no, sorry.
Right? Well, okay, so we're in 2017. That's after the death of Christ.
Was she
So she's 2016 years old?
She was.
maybe a little more because she was alive
more.
before
She
he
was,
died?
She was at least
Oh,
20
forget
years.
it.
Yes.
So
Okay.
she's 4 million years old.
No, she's like 2,036
Happy birthday, Mary Magdalene.
years old. Our girl. Love
All right.
her.
All right, let me
Switch it
take
up.
the seat.
All right, you be it. Good. Give me a break. You can be the interviewer. You can ask anything.
Did you buy this?
That's Bobby's. A shout out to Bobby. he was a very popular guest, especially with Tootsie. That's my aunt. Loved Bobby. She thought he was so funny. Okay, and sweet.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'll ask about your trip. I think I know this answer. Did Grandma and Colette fight a lot, and what was their biggest fight?
They didn't fight
They didn't
a lot.
fight.
No,
Oh, I
no.
thought
There
they
was
did.
just one incident.
Where Grandma threatened to choke Colette.
And let's tell why. This was after Mary Magdalene.
Yeah. She didn't find her inner peace.
So, but she did. She got the Holy Spirit in her, Grandma,
True.
Mary Magdalene, she said. But we came back after a whole day of a Mary Magdalene pilgrimage. Sage, being the good boy that he is, took my backpack and said, I'll carry it. Him and Colette got to our apartment way before us. We get there, and my key and my phone is in my backpack, and we're locked out. So we start knocking, but they can't hear. They're on the second floor. So we're there waiting. Grandma's like, I get aggravated. I'm like, how could they not leave us here? All frustrated. Grandma's like, no, they just leave them alone. Don't get aggravated with them. They're good kids. I said, all right, let's sit and have some mozzarella and tomato at the cafe. So we sit at the cafe, we're eating. About half hour later, Sage and Colette come down to leave, and Sage bursts out laughing, right?
I was just like, oh, you decided to eat here?
Uh-huh.
Because the restaurant was like right outside of
So
our
that what did Grandma
apartment.
say?
No, she didn't say anything to me. I was like, oh, I'll go get your keys and phone. And then I don't know what she said to Colette.
So
All
then
I know is that she wanted to choke her and told her.
Colette sits down. She goes, I'm going to choke you. I'm like, what? You're the one who's telling me not to get upset. She's like, you leave us here and don't even think what happened to us. And Colette's just being like, oh, true. Say you're sorry, Colette. Colette's like, I'm sorry. Sage comes down. And she says to Sage, Sage, this is not your character.
And I said, bye.
She was like, bye-bye.
walked away.
That is the line. now.
What?
Bye. Emma used it in Portland.
Really?
It was a great line.
When you want to end a conversation?
Yeah, one of her, I guess, friends was talking to her and being a little bit of a know-it-all, and in the middle of his sentence, she went, bye, and walked outside. So I guess that's just the line.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
I have to say, I am feeling it so, like, uncool in this moment, because, like, you two are so cute and cool, and I just feel really nerdy.
Well,
I guess I'm loser.
thanks.
Like, yeah. Own it. But unpopular. My girl. Back to my girl. Come on, ask us questions about our trip.
What was the best thing you ate?
I loved the boulangeries, which were the bakeries.
They're the best.
You just go and get the best bread ever. And they also have pastries, and they have quiches made
Oh,
fresh
the
every
quiche was
day.
so good.
How did it compare to Paris? Because when we went to Paris, it was so good. The quiches and croissants.
So let's just say it's a little more artisanal down south.
Like artisan?
Maybe.
So like handcrafted?
It's like less like fancy, basically.
Again,
It's-
more down to earth.
It's more buttery though.
Oh, too much butter.
It
That was
wasn't-
Grandma's
you can't get enough
favorite
butter.
line, right?
Too
Never
much
mind.
butter.
Too much butter. That
Yeah,
was
but
her
no.
only complaint.
It was really good. But like food wise, I think the best fondue was so good.
Fondue, bread and cheese.
Ooh.
Bread
Yeah,
and cheese.
just the bread
Bottom
and
line,
cheese.
bread and cheese. You can't go wrong.
And the quiche.
So great. So that was wonderful. How about just ask about how we got there?
I'm guessing a plane?
Yeah, what the heck?
Like, how did we end up going to South of France? Those kinds of questions.
No, wait. How'd you find out about Mary Magdalene being there? You found out after you booked the flight or before?
Yes, this guy. So Sage was in Germany, you know that, studying. And he said, after Germany, all I want to go to is south of France. And then he's booking his trip the day he's about to leave. And
Stress.
so much stress. And then he said, why don't you come along? Colette happened to be there.
Why
His
you
birthday.
laughing? That's so embarrassing.
Bye.
But more like. Okay, keep going.
So he's like, Mom, come. I always felt like south of France was for you. Grandma happened to be there. So she's like, I always wanted to go to France.
Well, we wanted to go to Paris together. And so I was like, why not?
Come to south of France,
Right.
Grandma. So she was in, and then Colette was there, and she's like, all right, I'm in. So that's how we got to go. But now, while Sage is studying there, I don't know how you came across. I didn't know Mary Magdalene
Same,
had
honestly.
anything to do with south of France.
Was that her
Same.
birthplace, or was that
No.
It's her death place, actually. It's where she died.
she went there to grieve?
Well, you know what happened with.
Well, so I found out she was there because I guess I was just bored one day, and I was like, Mary Magdalene Church, south of France. I Googled that.
Aw, for Mom.
Yeah.
So nice.
And then it was right in the town that we booked, like where we were staying. And
Wow.
then, so I was like, oh, cool.
Serendipitous.
Yeah, and then I was like, cool, and texted her about it. And then I was like, oh, let me look this up again. And then it was like, oh, there's a cave where she lived. And I was in a mountain. And I was like, we should go.
So then they told us when we went to ask about it in the tourist agents, right? There was this woman who knew all about
She
it.
was
Like an
meant to
angel.
be.
She was meant to be. So she said there's two. There's the basilica that the church built for her, and they display her skull. The rest of her body was given out to popes as relics. Grandma got so upset about that. She was like,
Yeah,
what?
why?
You're taking her bones and giving it to these priests and,
We're all
Creepy.
men. Like,
yeah, as a
she's
relic.
such a divine feminine.
And all that
Why?
was left was her skull, and they decorate it with gold hair,
so creepy.
and it's behind a cage.
They it's basically like a statue of
So
her, like
scary.
with a hole for the skull, and they stuck in the skull.
Ew.
It was scary. Colette got scared of that.
She did?
Oh my
And she was
gosh.
like, this is scary. And it's behind this golden gate, the whole thing. Again,
You
but-
should have broken in.
well, I was saying I wanted Colette to steal the skull. I'm like, Colette, if anyone could do it, you get the skull. And nobody cared. We could have stolen
Yeah.
the skull. But the church was unfinished, so it was like a shabby chic, right?
Yeah.
Like anthropology style, sort of.
Like ancient, I guess, of
Yeah.
that style.
But
maybe.
Sage said, I like it. It sort of fit her because it wasn't so ornate because it was left unfinished. And the story is that after Jesus died, right, she was in that Middle East area, and she was preaching. She had written her gospel, and then it started to become dangerous to preach. So she had to flee. And she left in a boat with no sails. There were 6 of them. She was there, Mother Mary, Sarah, Martha, and Mary of the Sea, and George, who was their traveling person. They sailed across, and they ended up in the south of France, somehow alive. So then she dedicated her life to teaching the word that she learned from Jesus, but she would not participate in community life. Every day she would go up to the top of her mountain and be in her cave where she prayed and lived. Why are you laughing?
Because she's just totally zoning out.
You're zoning. You don't even care about my
she
story.
went. No, she went to her cave.
So yes, she was grieving.
I have zoning out problems.
She was grieving in her cave. So back up in her cave is where she lived, which is where we also got to go up to. Right?
Yeah, that was
What
really
a
cool.
pilgrimage! Was it a long, long walk or
Not
like?
really. It looked so like from the base
For
of
me,
the mountain.
it was.
Yeah, bad knees, girl.
So that was Sage was like, you have to get in shape if you want to continue these pilgrimages.
Yeah.
It's hard, but thank God for him. Grandma was insistent. I'm going to climb the mountain.
But she
That would
didn't.
have taken maybe 24 hours.
And I don't think she would have come out alive.
Yeah,
It was so steep. But Grandma got to sit in a chapel, and she prayed, and she heard Mass, and she said she felt the Holy Spirit come through her. But going the climb was so beautiful.
It was.
It was like shady and so many stones. But then this is the kicker. We get to the top, and when you finally get to the top, there are these 150 steps that you have to walk up to get to the cave.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it's a step for every Hail Mary on the rosary. You step, you say Hail Mary, so that it's really
Did you do it?
contemplative. No, but I talked on every step in my head. I prayed. I said some Hail Marys. And you had to be in silence at that point. So it became very quiet. So
But no one really listened.
people were chatting.
Yeah.
But how many people were there?
Maybe
It didn't seem like a
10?
strict.
10 people? No, they weren't going to bother you.
Well,
We
there was no
talked.
one there to watch it, so.
Aw,
Nobody
poor Mary.
protecting it. Then we get to the top, and there's this plaque in French. Sage translates it. What does it say, Sage?
It said, like, this is the, like, Mary Magdalene's mountain is where, like, men and women can make memories with unborn children, basically.
So they can make memories with the children that never came to see the light of day.
Do
So
you
that
think
means
that's like her and Jesus' unborn child?
no. I think it's people who have miscarried children, maybe people who had to make the choice to abort children, babies that were conceived but never made it to light. So they can come to the mountain, and there was this 7 stages of consolation, of grieving that they could go through and be connected to the spirit. And she supposedly takes care of all those unborn babies.
Aww.
Okay. But the powerful part of it is it's so sweet, right? In connection to the surrogacy.
Yeah.
I was like, what? She came to me during the surrogacy.
That's crazy.
She's all about loss of babies.
Yeah.
I just got on my knees when I was like, thank you for the miracle of
affirmation.
Mary.
Yeah.
Like you gave her to us. Like my prayer to you.
And she carries her name.
And she's even taking her name for confirmation.
How
So she'll actually be a
beautiful.
Mary Grace Magdalene.
Wow.
Miss my Mary. She's at camp. She's usually on the couch. So that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. That was like the big crescendo. And then the personal connection in the cave, the prayers. But her statues are beautiful.
Yeah.
Her altars are so sweet. Understated.
But that's
ordinary.
even better. All the best things are.
That's what I really believe I have the most reverence for.
So who's the best Mary? Me, Grandma, Little Mary, or Magdalena?
My Mary Magdalene, I love her. She is sweet and sad and so good. I felt a lot of sadness. Sage said to me in the cave, which I thought was so true. Do you remember when you said,
Yes.
this is that like lonely place in all of us, that emptiness. But the crazy thing is from inside the cave, you see the doorway. And right outside the doorway is the most beautiful view of France.
Wow.
Breathtaking.
Well, it's
But
like
it's
the
right there.
French
Oh.
Alps.
The French Alps. So you're like in the cave and then seeing that light on the other side of the doorway with trees and butterflies. So many
So many butterflies, yeah.
everywhere. That it's both places are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel scared or sad or in the cave. It just felt connected.
Well, you walked right up to the altar, even though it was roped off, and like set up your own altar on top of theirs.
Of course.
And
Well,
no one even.
Nothing like a good altar.
And I said it when I went in there. I was like, just what is your prayer that I need to say? And the prayer that I heard was, speak to me. My ears are open. I'm ready to hear. So I just kept saying that periodically, speak to me. And I heard, your cloth belongs on this altar. And so I had to go put it on there.
My gosh.
I had to. And the cross,
You crazy.
it's the cross above the altar and her kneeling at the foot. And I'm like, that's how it should be. Jesus and Mary. Man, woman. Divine masculine, divine feminine, together on the altar. It's the missing piece. It's why I have to break up with the church. Like, you guys don't understand the power of the Catholic Church because I didn't indoctrinate you into it. But it puts such a grip on the way you're supposed to believe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could see it.
Right?
And
Did
just,
you,
like,
being someone who wasn't, oh, no, you're the interviewer.
No,
You ask.
ask. I want to know.
Do you think you, like, did you feel connected to spirit or God or faith or something?
yeah, I guess.
All right, awkward question. Sorry. All right, Mary, another question. Back to you. That was our main story, right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So you could ask anything else
Wow.
about France.
I mean, I'm not as interested in France. I feel like I'm more interested in this, this religious pilgrimage that you had. I think it's interesting you just said that you want to see the both male and female at the altar, because me and my two sisters were talking about Lilith, because Lily's name is a derivative of, right, that thing from
Lilith.
the Bible.
Yes,
Lilith,
she
the
was
queen
the
of the fairies,
first wife of Adam.
who said we are equals, and that's where she got put into the middle kingdom, right?
Yes, because she said, I will not lay below you.
Yeah,
We are equal.
right.
Like, the two of us stand together. And then she got kicked out of the garden. And then Eve was made from his rib.
Yeah,
So it was
Ew.
like,
I know.
you are sort of
Baby
less than. What?
Baby back.
Baby back. You're a little bit less than.
How do you make a person out of a rib?
Yeah, it's a story. It's metaphoric. You got to think of it in the metaphorical terms.
Forget the Bible.
And then
Bibble.
Lilith, also became evil. She became known as the one who stole the babies, the evil temptress, just like Mary Magdalene over time became the sinner, the prostitute, the one who was redeemed. Oh my gosh, this was my other favorite discovery. We're taught that Jesus had his 12 apostles, 12 men. In France, it's written there that besides the 12 male apostles, there were 12 female apostles. There were 24 committed
Of course.
followers, Mary Magdalene being the head of the female apostles, and that's why she walked with him to the path of the cross. And the women who were in the boat with her were some of them: Sarah, Mary de la Mer, Mary of the Sea, Martha,
Wow.
but wiped
So-
out.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Erased from history. Erased.
Yeah, that's the creepy thing. Like,
Like, how do you
they
erase
were real
it?
people. Like, it was history.
Right.
Like, it's not like completely a
So
made-up
scary.
thing.
It's not.
So how the
it's
heck
not
is that even allowed?
And the
Ew.
fact that France, in that chapel in the south of France, they have that written. Like, what? So there are records of this.
Right.
Well, yeah, I totally,
creepy.
I know people who refer to God as he, right?
Yes.
And I also know people that refer to God as she, but like you were saying, the balance of male female, that is actually how I see God. Like, totally that perfect balance, like O Mateo in Mexico, which is all things
Yeah.
in the universe in balance. I think it's both divine male and divine female together, Mother Earth and Father Sky, Father Sun.
And you know what, Mary? I think that's much denser. That, and at the same time, so much lighter because it's balance. But that concept is harder for people to like really. No, maybe it's less dense, right? It just having one or the other, people can grasp onto it. Where to really hold the male female, it's like that moment in the cave, out of the cave. Like, it's both. It's always both. And one isn't better or worse or different. Like, it's all love. It's all this circle of love. Circle.
And I think that people on their own, if they want to refer to it as he or she, is totally what they come to, and that's their own belief. But like you were saying, through the church, I don't think it should be forced upon you through the church, referring to it as he. Or like, it should really come to on your own what you're comfortable with. So
because then you also get a sense of like figuring out your intimate, close relationship with God.
yes.
Like it's just personal. Like the piece that I read about the breakup in high school, I went to a great Catholic high school. They were awesome, the nuns. They were like progressive. They had insight groups. None of them, very few of them wore habits. They were open and were all about girl power. No horror stories. They were beautiful women who were very empowering. But it was like all women and one Jesus. Like, I was like, I don't feel close to him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It feels yucky.
Yeah, no.
It does. This doesn't feel right. Like, what? So, and there was no sense of cultivating that individuality. It was group mentality. But
Yeah.
I think it would have radically changed my spiritual upbringing if I was raised with this idea of like the two set of apostles, what the male apostles bring and what the voice of the female, because they wrote, they just were never heard from. And when we were in France, one of the most beautiful things was the sunflowers.
Yes.
And Mary, these sunflowers covered the mountain.
Oh my gosh.
They were an army. I was like, this is what I want to start. The sunflower army.
Another thing you need to start.
Sunflower warriors, because it's women. It's like they stand strong, they look to the sun, they bow at the moon, they are like
Oh, yeah.
right there and powerful and beautiful. And to me, that's the representation of those 12 women apostles, you know, like the army
Yeah.
of the divine feminine. We are marching forward. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Ask. Go.
I don't know what else to ask.
Want to switch with Sage?
Yeah,
Sage,
let's
you want
switch.
to ask?
What am I going to ask you guys about? Anything?
Literally whatever you want.
Now we're
Well,
free.
Have you guys talked about Mexico yet?
Not really.
Because
not
I have no idea. What? My God.
That could be a good try to make the connection. My baby.
All right.
Okay, Sage is
So-
in the interviewer seat. Want to play
Tell me-
Would You Rather?
Maybe.
Would you rather go to Mexico?
My eyes are so dead. Do you see it? My
You're
dark
tired.
circle.
Well, now you're taking a
slap you.
class.
I'm
You're up
taking
early.
more classes. I'm
You
bad.
never stop. You need a
Anyways.
summer. Sage is taking physics this summer. Oy.
I'm taking nothing.
Okay.
You're going to Australia. This girl is about to embark on an expedition.
My own pilgrimage. That's my pilgrimage.
Don't hop away with any kangaroos.
Okay. What similarities can you find between like your trip to France and Mexico and Oklahoma? Like
Oh my God, the trinity of
the
travels.
Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity.
Illuminati.
Well, the main similarity for me is that all three was a method of healing, of really seeking healing, and managing grief, coming to understand grief on a deeper level. And so Mexico was all about the alignment of the feminine power in our family, right? The three sisters, sisterhood, emotional dynamics that go with that. And Mexico was wasn't it so much la fuerza of Mother Earth?
Yes, definitely.
It was like earth empowerment.
Which is my religion.
Your earth, you find earth. On the plane to France, I read this book, The Hidden Life of Trees, and it talks about how trees actually grow in families. They communicate through their root system, and they love each other and help each other, trees that aren't doing well, through this extensive root system.
Is that like for real?
For real, scientifically proven. So that's why when people say I hug a tree and I feel the magnetism of the electricity, it's really
In
there.
Mexico, they tell us if you're having strong emotions, you can hug a tree or you can beat it up, but it'll take it for you. And
it goes zoop into
Yeah.
that root system.
recycling.
And it does. It really helps it out a lot. So that was Mexico. Oklahoma was so much the solitary journey, and it's taught me so much about like the oneness of it all. And then France was like the combination of taking this cosmic world and the earth world and combining it, I guess.
And like Christ consciousness, right?
Right.
Taking that piece.
Of the Christ consciousness to the earth. So that was the Trinity.
Cool.
Cool.
Last question. We don't have much time. Was this boring for you to do today?
No, I'm just so tired.
And you're
So tired.
Can I just tell anyone who's watching to go watch Okja the movie and What the Health, because they're both life-changing movies.
What the Health?
Yeah.
What are they
Totally
about?
random, but I just
And
think
what's
everyone
Okja?
needs to watch it. Okja. It's like a dystopian movie, but it's about the meat industry and like genetically modified organisms. They take this pig and it's like a project where they make it a super pig and it's like as big as an elephant. It's disgusting, but the girl who raises it, they raise it at different local farms to make it seem good, gets so close with it over 10 years. You have to watch it. It's amazing. And it's so reflective on what's happening.
Well, and look,
for real.
right, if our bodies are going to be our temple, then we need to treat it right with the foods we eat. Yeah.
True. That's what the French say.
Do they?
Exactly.
They say you can, like, the more pain you put an animal through, like the meat will taste worse, and like the pain will go into your body.
And that we didn't have much meat when we were there, but we had chicken.
Yeah.
It was the best tasting chicken
Yeah,
ever.
a tiny,
It's so tiny, Mary, because it's
the
not.
whole roasted chicken. It's
And
like this.
delicious. So good, because they treat their chickens right.
They do. Hopefully.
We got to catch up with that mentality. So we're going to close with a piece that I actually wrote right when I came home. I didn't do any writing when I was there, if you noticed, right?
You didn't.
I really wanted to take it in as much as possible. So let's go to that.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Thank you, guys. Love you. We're going to close the show today with a piece that I wrote when I came home from France. I didn't do much writing when I was there. It was so full that I just really wanted to be in the moment. But this I wrote the morning I came back. Today is the day we begin again. Let it be the first of many, where lavender rolls over stressful landscapes and bees inspire happy and fulfilled work, where we stand tall, among our sisters, creating solidarity in the strength of yellow sunflower warriors. Today is the day we begin again to connect the voice within the heart, the one that calls for action based on truth, love, and necessity. Today is the day we begin again to serve God through a vessel that is treated with reverence. We are the temple. We are the cave. We are the mountaintop. We are the 150 stone steps. We walk up and we pray. We walk up from the depths of our souls and love what we see. We leave offerings of light and beauty, place prayers where healing is needed. We walk up and breathe slowly, surely. We will get to the top, to the place where the view is clear and silence is requested. Above it all, perspective is shifted and peace is found in the accessibility of God's light. We create the inner landscape, clear the path. It is a beautiful day to begin again, to take a hike, mostly an uphill climb, but we are not walking alone. Such kind hands assist and restore balance when footing is lost. Our path is beautiful, majestic, the walk of kings and popes, queens and saints. Humble, the walk of good people seeking restoration, carrying water up. Wild, the walk of nature, the mother of the untamed spirit, free to question, free to burst into bloom, free to express the fullness of creation and destruction. We are the walk, casual with conversation and appreciation for the beauty of God's creation, chaos and order side by side, balance and imbalance, fall and recover, fools and fairies and wonder, wandering up the steady incline. And then we come to the steps, the stopping point, the silencing, the decision to go higher, one step at a time, one Hail Mary at a time. The living rosary, living the rosary. 150 moments, minutes, hours, days. How long will it take us to ascend? The inner cave, the outer vista, the pinnacle of opposites, dark, cold, wet, bright, warm, dry. The air is different just beyond the portal, the threshold. One step and everything changes. Gray, hard, silent on the inside. Green, soft, musical on the outside. We see it. We see it from the inside. We see it from the outside. Both places call. From the altar, we see the arched doorway, the passage from suffering to rebirth to butterflies. Our hands on the stone table, covered in the shawl we shoulder. The altar holding us up as we bow down. Women holding up the altar, lowering our heads in gratitude for the trees and the rocks, simultaneously escorting us to the threshold. We look forward, we look back. The threshold of our rightful destiny awaits. Both worlds are magnificent in their potential to heal, to create, to love. It is all love. Grieving at the foot of the cross, we took those tears, mixed them with the earth. We took all that love and created a cave out of a mountain. The power of women's love to conquer the rock and create a home, to heal the heart. It is wonderful when we can take the divinity of our nature and create relationships, children, light, music, art, food, gardens. I am suddenly struck by the mystery of what love creates when it cannot be channeled into another person. There is a force behind that kind of love, the crash of love that has lost. It can move mountains, or it can become the mountain. Petrified stone, afraid of the suffering that comes with love. In order to conquer grief, we must be willing to blow out the mountaintop and create a cave, a sanctuary that we consciously ascend to every day. Hike the path, walk the steps, pray the prayer, weep the tears, retreat into the seat that awaits us on the altar of our heart. Sit in darkness with eyes focused just past the doorway into the light, where the trees open their arms to us and the birds sing us out of our sleep and into the dream of the beauty that awaits our return. It's always both places when we choose love, life and death, joy and sorrow, stillness and movement, silence and words, coexist, co-create, co-operate. Love is learning to live in the density of that grip, learning to love the partnership, learning to appreciate the beauty and necessity of both players. Love is a marriage, and it takes work to maintain the flow, to preserve the threshold, where the vow is made to love God and each other, and to receive the Eucharist, the deep appreciation for the body of our existence, the great Mother Earth. This is where faith lives for me, for us. The momentary pause at the threshold. God above, Mother below, all is as it should be. I am at peace. The world is at peace. A step in either direction, into the cave or into the light, balance is lost. I get that now. We get that now, and embrace the potential hidden in the missteps. Today, we walk slowly, consciously, carrying the light of Our Lady, sharing her rocks with all those who agree that today is a good day to begin again. So with the deepest of love and respect for my dear Lady Mary Magdalene, may this week bring new beginnings, and may you come to know the peace of that threshold. Thank you.